Keepers Podcast, episode
8,
episode 8,
episode
forgiveness.
8. Talking about forgiveness today.
Yeah,
So I want to ask you, bro, why was forgiveness on your mind? Cuz you mentioned that to me a couple times.
yeah,
I think it's pertinent cuz it's funny. I just had a conversation like 2 days ago when we went out to
r-
Cheesecake Factory. I was talking to family members and it actually led into a conversation about forgiveness. So I didn't even remember at the time that was with the upcoming podcast episode. It
that's
just happened
crazy.
that way.
Yeah,
And that happened the last time
mm-hmm,
when we were talking about patience.
mm-hmm.
It was just something we was talking about in conversation and this is a perfect platform to
Became a
share them
topic to
ideas.
actually talk about it. Yeah, it's just like anything else that we discuss. It's one of those things that's lucrative and important to self. I think a lot of the times when we reference forgiveness, we think that we're doing it for somebody else. But forgiveness is for ourselves, because once you forgive, that means you can ultimately let go. Anything that I've held on to that I haven't forgiven, whether it be a situation or a person, has always felt like a burden on me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And once I do forgive them and that burden is lifted, it's you like a free
So
bird.
can you define forgiveness and then your definition? I wanted because one of the things we seem to do on the show a lot is dispel a lot of popular ideas. But I want you to give me your definition of forgiveness
Right.
and also what are some of the misconceptions about forgiveness and the definition of forgiveness that you think people should realize?
Um, my definition of forgiveness really is letting go. Not forgetting though.
Hmm.
I think those are those two F words that kind of conflicts each other, and that's why we don't forgive, is because people like, no, I can't
You
forget.
remember that show back on the day with that black lady, Forgive and Forget? It came
That
on like
sound
around
familiar.
Maury, like after Maury or something like
Yeah,
that. It
yeah.
was the fat
Hold on.
black lady.
What was her name? Mother Love?
Mother Love. Yeah. I forgot all about that show till you just said that,
But
man.
the reality to it is that you can forgive, but you won't forget. I mean, unless you get amnesia or something like that, somebody knock you upside your head. But especially if it's something that affects you or is painful, of that sort. But to me, forgiveness, my own definition would be to let go. Um,
Are there any limits to forgiveness, you think?
no, because there's no limits to God forgiving us.
Mm.
And it's like this. There's a lot of things that we talk about. We can't cut corners. We can't go around this way to get to this. You have to factor in the fact that forgiveness comes from God, and the fact that he does say to us that in order to be forgiven by him, we have to forgive others.
He does say that.
A lot of our lives aren't what we want them to be, and I don't think that we ever identify with the fact that we're living in turmoil, pain, or misery because we're holding on things that we haven't forgiven. Um,
Talk about some of the ways that um being unforgiven can affect you, not just in a spiritual sense, but just
so being
period.
unforgiven from another person,
Yeah, or even yourself,
or
just
or
in general.
um misery, and misery loves company. So hurt people. All those cliche, statements go along with you know unforgiveness. It's no way. I think last episode, we tapped into happiness and things like that. I feel like you can't be happy being unforgiven. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Um, it's hard to let go of everything that you're dealing with, right? At one point in time. So I think like we gotta proportion it and take bits and pieces, out. Recognize what affects you the most and work there. But at the end of the day, you have to get it all out. If you're unforgiving, then you're creating I feel like a blockage to what can be happiness for you. You're trapped. Your mind is in a million different places off of things that you choose not to, release. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. You answered it in a few different ways, but can you give me a
Come on, dog.
what?
No, go ahead.
What?
Dog, I just gave you a whole clip. What you?
I know. I'm
No, go ahead.
I'm enjoying this.
No.
Can you give me an example of what's the hardest thing you've ever had to forgive that you care to share for the whole world to see on YouTube?
Hardest thing that I've ever had to forgive.
Don't hit the table. You shake the camera.
Oh, my bad. Don't mean to shake the camera. I'm about to shake the room. That's that Pop Smoke. You don't know about that. We can add that to this.
Who?
Pop Smoke.
Mike
He just
Jones?
died. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke.
Oh, okay.
Don't do that. Yeah.
All right.
But hardest thing I've ever had to forgive, or person, will possibly be my wife. And the reason why I said that is because I've been through a lot of things in life. But what I've noticed with her being one of the people that I shared the longest relationships with is a lot of the things that we've been through has affected me more than the things that I've been through before being with her.
Right.
And my forgiveness of her is not necessarily to say that she was damaging to me, but
Right.
it's being forgiving of her for she know not what could have been damaging. You know what I mean, to me as well. Like, so it's a lot of things that I've been through in a relationship with her that has caused frustrations, right? And I had to learn to forgive because I'd be so frustrated. I'm like, no, I ain't letting this go. Like I don't want to let this go. You know what I mean? I'm not letting this thing go. But like I said, that's why I brought up to say, for she know not what she do, because sometimes we affect people in ways that we don't even know is that effective.
Mhm.
So for me to be strong and to get to where I need to go, I have to let go and forgive her for the things that she doesn't know could have caused, turmoil and pain. And in 13 years, her being one of the closest to me, a lot of things that we've been through has been one of the hardest things that I've had to forgive without getting into,
No. I get it. Especially cumulative.
Right.
Right. You're in a relationship with somebody for your entire life.
Yeah.
That's what marriage is, right? And
Well,
all
that's
of
what it's
the
supposed to be.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, then you didn't do marriage. You
Right.
know what I mean?
That's real.
Till death do you part. You
That's
tried it and you failed if you don't do it till you die.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the longest relationship, and it's a voluntary relationship, at least going in. You know what I mean? So it's like they have the most opportunities to hurt you,
Right.
and they will hurt you the most.
And the ways that they hurt you aren't like anything else. That's why I only brought her up to say that, she hasn't been the reason for any or all my bad experiences.
Right. But it's just the uniqueness of the
The
relationship.
uniqueness of the relationship is
Right.
why that's been one of the most valuable things, in terms of forgiveness and forgiving, and we hurt each other, but also me being forgiven to her hopefully opens the door for her to see that, where she can forgive me at as well. It goes both ways.
Amen.
My dad too.
Yeah.
Forgiving my dad. Shout out to my dad.
What's up, Pop?
I'm very open. Shout out to my brother even asking me if it was comfortable enough to say anything, but
Probably gonna delete that.
you think so?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, you can still shout me out though. I was listening.
No. And don't delete it though. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, this is real. Forgiveness is real, and we need to forgive everybody around us. Now, nobody says that forgiveness happens instantly. Nobody says that this person shoots you in your back, and then 2 weeks from later, 2 weeks from now, you're in the hospital, you're out the hospital, and then it's like, oh, I forgive you. But over time, a part of your healing process for whatever the person or you have been through, there has to be a portion that you get to forgiveness.
Right.
And once again, it's not for anybody else. It's for yourself. To carry that burden and to know and understand and identify that hurt people, that's enough within itself for you to say, I gotta let this thing go. Because
Hmm.
if I allow it to manifest in me, I'm only going to dish it out as well. And sometimes
Hmm.
we do that unconsciously.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think I see just among people in general a coldness in people's hearts and an unforgiving nature, almost being glorified like all the other bad things that we
Yeah,
like to
like it's
do.
glorified to not forgive somebody.
Yeah,
Oh, you let that person go? Oh, you
yeah.
don't deal with it? That's what's up, my G.
The spirit of
What?
unforgiveness is very spiteful,
Yeah.
vengeful, and bitter. And I think now than any more than any other time that I've noticed, people are embracing that
Right.
rather than, you know, choosing or desiring to let it go. They're clutching onto those feelings and they feeling justified in them.
Yeah, it's a scary world, man. Forgiveness and reconciliation is a bad thing now.
Reconciliation
It's bad.
is so important.
Hmm.
It's so important, and that's the perfect word
Hmm.
because that's part of forgiveness. I believe. I believe, especially when it comes to family,
Right.
when it comes to people who are important in your life. There's certain relationships, and I fundamentally, wholeheartedly believe that there's certain relationships that you need in life to be a healthy person,
Correct.
to be a balanced, well-adjusted person. You need certain relationships in your life. And it's not to say that if you don't have these relationships, you can't be a well-adjusted person,
Right.
but I do believe that it makes it that much harder and you'll have to overcompensate or outperform other
Or you
people.
burn yourself out too, though, without having those things,
Yeah.
those
It's just
relationships.
like, some people don't have a mom or a dad. Some
Right.
people are orphans. And that's not to say that someone who's an orphan can't be a productive person, can't be a balanced and well adjusted person. But the fact that they're orphans is an obstacle in their life, right? That's a unique challenge. That's not something that should be overlooked as, you know, oh, well, you don't actually need that relationship. You actually don't need a mom and a dad. Like, no, they suffer in their own unique
In their
way.
own way.
And parents, husband and wife especially. I
Mm.
think husband and wife is the most important because that's the foundation of all family.
Right.
Um, parent, child, siblings, right? How many, even cousins to a degree? It's like how many people that's family members that don't speak to each other, that don't talk to each other because, you know, Pookie stole Ray Ray's Xbox in 10th grade and they 40
And they 40 years
and
old.
they still
Never let
don't
it go.
talk.
Now, this is the
Cause
thing.
he a snake. He always been a
A
snake.
lot of times, um, it's not always about forgiving other people too. I think sometimes we don't forgive ourselves,
Yeah.
and that's a big part of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Being able to look in the mirror, identify again, understand, and forgive yourself for mistakes that even you've made.
So
Because you could beat yourself up.
I'm gonna go personal on this because you gave a little bit of personal,
Hmm.
but that was such a big part of my relationship with God
Mm.
because I'm somebody that always struggled with guilt. Right? I probably inherited from my dad,
Hmm.
but I have if I do something and it affects people and it affects me and I can see the effects, I can see how I harmed somebody, I can see how I hurt somebody. That's somehow shown to me. I have a complex where it really
It
it
affect.
grieves me.
Yeah, it's called the
It
spirit of
grieves me.
conviction too, though.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it is that, but I feel like I feel that stronger than some people
Hmm.
because, or at least in my perception, because I don't feel like they harp on it. A lot of people tell me, you tell me all the time, I'm hard on myself, I beat
Right.
myself up.
Hmm.
When really, that's just how I'm normally am. Like I'm not doing extra to make myself. I just do. I feel that way.
Right.
And one of the obstacles I had to get through on a spiritual point is I didn't feel even worthy enough to forgive myself.
Mm.
Like who's like what authority do I have
To
to
f-
say that what I did was okay?
right.
Like how can I just say, "Hey, you're what you
But
did."
it's not you saying that it's okay. It's understanding that I did do that. I know I shouldn't have did that. I won't do it again.
I might.
prayerfully, prayerfully, and I have to move on.
Yeah. I mean, and you can rationally say that,
Right, right, right.
but doing is
I mean,
different.
doing is totally different.
And that was the space in my life that I needed God to occupy for me
Right.
because He can forgive me.
hmm
I don't really have the authority to say, well, you did this bad thing, and you know it's washed
So
away.
you don't. So you don't believe that you can forgive yourself?
I think that I can forgive
And I
myself,
understand what I
but I don't think I have the authority for redeeming myself.
yeah, but you're not doing
You know
that.
what I mean?
You
Like,
God will redeem you, but
right.
you will forgive yourself. And the thing is, I understand where you're at with it. You're almost basically saying, Lord, I don't even want to get convicted for me feeling like me forgiving myself is taking away power from you. No, that's not the case. But that's why the verbiage that you use, redeem. God will redeem us
Right.
after we forgive ourselves.
Mm.
Us forgiving others, he's then going to forgive us.
I don't have a problem forgiving others. And I think that's because I understand so thoroughly my own flawed nature.
Yeah, I struggled with it. I struggled with it for a long time.
I think a lot of people do.
hmm
And I'm thinking that's one of the ways I feel, at least people make me feel like I'm unique because I've held grudges before,
hmm
but it was just always for me, it was always so much work to try to, and I think I told you this before in private, but just try to remember why I was angry
Right.
and try to emotionally stir myself up to represent those feelings when you're around that person that you won't want to be around, or when you feel when you're reminded of this thing that they never apologized for. They were wrong,
hmm
they know they were wrong, and they choose not to just give you the satisfaction. I felt like it was giving away a lot of my power
hmm
to another person to allow them to have that much control over my moods
Well,
and my
that's real.
thoughts
That's real.
and my actions and what I was gonna do and where I was gonna be at,
Right.
who I was gonna talk to. Oh, you in there talking to this person? Well, I don't like them or I'm upset with them.
hmm
So I'm not gonna talk to you who I really want to talk to because that other person's there. Now
Is
you
there too?
controlling what I do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it becomes, like you said, burdensome.
hmm
Um, and then the other crucial part of that is when you forgive somebody is uh the expectation that you have of them. Like a
hmm
lot of people think that when you tell somebody, "Hey, I forgive you," you want them to give you feedback, and then now you want them to confess. You want them to treat you a certain way.
Right.
You want them to behave a certain way.
And that's wrong though, because
It is. It
again,
is.
the forgiveness was for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but the forgiveness was for you again. So you know, if you say that you forgive somebody and then still draw a certain expectation on how they should respond based off of you releasing that statement,
Right.
then they were never really forgiven to begin with.
Exactly. It's almost like trying to manipulate them
Yeah.
into getting the response that you want. You think if you say sorry or if you tell them you forgive them,
hmm
then they'll apologize. It's just like when you tell somebody you're welcome before they say thank you.
Right.
It's like, I forgive you for what you did.
And that should probably be episode 9,
What's that?
expectation and entitlement.
Mm, yeah, I like
Because
that.
expectation and entitlement, that puts all of us in the jam with everything that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why people are going through it. Some people are stressed out, once again, it's not always expectation of others. Sometimes it's expectation of ourselves.
The expectation of reality.
How about that?
How many people are are just disenchanted with reality
hmm
because they had a certain expectation for themselves or their lives, or based their expectation on a perception
Right.
that had no validity. They just believed it.
They just believe this is going to
And
be this way.
now they're suffering
hmm
because they're burdened with those
And
expectations.
this is why you got to forgive and let go. Hello, world. Because at the end of the day, even with those expectations or failed expectations and that burden that you're carrying that you have to forgive and let go, you have to understand and realize that even if those things went the way that you expected it to go, something else could have still happened.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like we always look back and say, oh, like me, I'm 31 now, and I'm like, man, I ain't do this in my 20s. Like I ain't do this in my 20s. It wasn't meant for me to do that, because if it was, I would have done that. And even though I have an idea that if I would have did this, it could have been better, that's not necessarily true. That's
Right.
creating a scenario for anxiety in your head
Yeah.
based off of what you think would have happened.
Right.
But you didn't know that you would get into a car accident today when you left for work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just clearing up the expectations, man. But before you do that, it's forgiving.
Yeah.
I'm learning, man.
And that's the spirit of gratitude. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that comes through faith,
Yeah.
right? That's one of the fruits that we taught to look for as believers. And, I think the more and more I look at people, the more and more I look for that stuff,
hmm
those fruits.
Now,
Um,
that's tough.
what you mean?
The more and more you look at people, you look for those things, but those qualities don't be there.
No, they do.
It's
But my thing is, I always assumed that if you were a real believer or if you were a Christian, you would just have all the fruits.
mhm,
Some people just have some, or some have some more than others, and
right,
some are expressed more openly than others. I think all people who love Christ have those fruits.
correct.
I believe that, or are capable of that. But some just naturally come to you more than others, right? Your spiritual gifts, you might call them. But yeah, and I just look for that in people, even people who may not identify themselves as Christians or believers, but they just have genuine natures of, just being good people as far as their qualities,
Right.
right? And their hearts, as far as what they desire for others or for themselves or for their families and things like that. You know what I mean? And that's a very it's a very powerful thing to see, a very
Mhm.
powerful thing to witness, and it's just something that I notice more so that I judge people based on those things than some of the things I would judge people on when I was younger.
When you was younger, right?
Right, their status, their looks, their you know
Yeah, all those things that
resources,
really mean,
worldly things.
yeah, that really mean nothing, man. The heart is the most valuable.
It's eternal.
It's eternal, man. It's the most valuable thing. And I think if we started, forgiveness would come so much easier if we started judging people or recognizing people by their hearts
Mm,
instead of their appearance or actions.
mm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a person's heart is different than something that they might do.
So if I could say one thing that I think would help people to understand, to get in the mindset of forgiveness, if I could put one word that would help people to forgive other people, I would say it's humility.
Mm,
Because if you have an honest perception of yourself,
right.
there is no way that you could hold a grudge against another
But
person.
that's the problem. It's the problem right there.
Humility?
How many people generally have an honest perception of themselves? That's the problem right there.
Right.
See,
Yeah.
the thing
Yeah,
is,
no,
the
you're
reason
right.
why people don't forgive, the reason why people hold grudges is because everybody's looking in the mirror, and even the people that know that their stuff stinks, they're pushing it to the side and says,
I'm a great
"I'm a
person.
great person."
Oh, you was lucky to even be in my life. You
How many
lucky I'm
people are
giving my
living life
time to you.
lying to themselves?
A lot of us.
You know what I mean?
A
Like
lot of us.
we're lying to ourselves. And it was a sermon, I think it was from Chris. Um, uh, us wanting to be, us saying what we are instead of identifying exactly who we are. You know what I mean?
Break that down real quick.
So I
Shout out
got
to Chris.
I
Anchor Community Church. Check it out.
yeah, shout out to them, man. It was a good sermon too
ACC in
though.
the
But
house.
no, he just pretty much spoke on your idea in your head as to what you are, what you should be doing, what life should be versus what God wants you to do. If you're stuck on yourself in your head as to what you should do, it's no way, at no point in time can you recognize or have humility, owning up to your
Good
wrongdoings
call.
or your calling or imperfections and things like that. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's a stat because it's like,
We're too focused on ourselves, basically.
yeah.
We're so full of ourselves that we can't see the areas in which we need to change.
Hmm.
You can't forgive anybody
And the
if you feel
culture is
like you got
affirming
it.
that.
Yeah,
I know I always blame the culture for
I hate
everything.
this culture.
I
It's
blame the
vanishing.
culture for everything. But I just that's what I see. I
Mhm.
just see because I don't think most people I don't think are really that self-centered. Like, think about
In
this.
front of people,
Think
they
about
are.
this. Think about this. Think about what you have to do to be popular on the internet.
It's a lot of work.
But think about all the self-promotion,
Yeah.
right? All of the posturing, all of the
The posture.
that's what it is. It's
Yeah,
posturing. It's
yeah.
making yourself sit a certain way, look a certain way. All of the self-promotion, right? All of the self-aggrandizement that goes into making a popular, let's just say a social media profile,
Right.
whether it's flexing your intellect, whether it's flexing the way that you look, whether it's just constant self-promotion to be popular, to be appealing,
hmm
right? And
Appealing
if,
to who though?
to other people, to other humans, to the
For what?
world,
For what?
to the world.
For what?
And that's what I'm saying. It's like if anybody wants to climb that social ladder,
Right.
you got to be willing to play that game. If
I
you
don't-
want to climb that social ladder.
I don't want to play the game.
I mean,
I'm just saying, like I'm realizing right now the things that I'm seeing, bro. I'm so turned off by everything now, dog. Like I almost wish. I mean, I always say I wish I knew then what I know now,
yeah.
but that probably would have pissed me off earlier if I'd have known what I know now. You know what I mean?
You just had 10 more angry years.
10 more angry years, you know what I mean? But it's like, dog, I'm turned off by everything that I see that's going on.
Yeah.
And I love people. I don't like people because,
You like people, you don't like what they do.
correct. And I don't like the following aspect
Yeah.
of the majority almost doing what they feel like the next man is either doing or think they should do. You know, and that goes for man and female. But we gotta forgive each other, man.
Yeah. I'll say this, and then we'll end this episode because we out of time. And this has been a good one. The first commandment is thou shalt have no other gods before me. When we chase all of these other things in the absence of God,
Right.
they're not wrong in of themselves. It's the idolatry of these things is when we reject God or have to go against the will of God in order to pursue these
In order
things.
to do it right.
It's like you get so lost you don't know which way is up. When you reject God, your whole moral compass is thrown off. Like how many guys out here reading their horoscopes, the 48 laws of power, trying to read self-help books, trying to do this, trying to do that, all so that they can pursue their idol and still have some semblance of morality and orientation in the world.
Right.
They want a code, like people need a code of operation. They need to know that this is the way things are supposed to go. Otherwise, it's chaos.
It's
You need to live by something.
Right.
But the law of God is too restrictive for a lot of people.
Absolutely. They feel controlled. I mean, that's why people run away from Christ anyway, though.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be controlled. I want to be able to do this, even if it means I'm going to go to hell.
But the beauty of submitting,
Mhm.
because that's what it is, it's submission to Christ, is that you can only choose it. And
Hey.
that's where you get your freedom.
They don't like submit. They don't like the word. So let's say surrender.
Surrender, submit, but the operative word is choice.
It's choice, correct.
The operative word is choice because you get to choose. It's not that you're so overly compelled that you have to be, oppressed upon,
Right.
but you get to choose to render your services, right? To sacrifice yourself, to deny yourself. And that, ironically, is where you get your power.
Right.
And that's the beauty. I just think the whole thing, the more I read the Bible, the more poetic it seems. 'Cause,
Yeah.
it just starts to make sense. All of it. So that's our episode on forgiveness. Guys, please leave your thoughts in the comments. Give us
Brothers
a like.
Keepers podcast.
Just a like on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube if you're not subscribed already. Share the video if you think this could help anybody. Or if you just thought it was a good show. I'm Dom. This is my brother Ryder. You can follow us on Facebook at Brothers Keepers Podcast. We are on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
at The Brothers Keepers Podcast.
Yep.
And then our email address, if you want to send us an email, send us some love, is Brothers Keepers Radio or Brothers Keeper Radio
BrothersKeeperRadio@gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
And we checking out, man. Make sure you after you watch this episode, you think about forgiving somebody, even if it's
Please do.
yourself to start with.
Please do. And forgive my brother
Yeah.
because he's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh.